Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is a story time. It is about how I give my medical coding classes to other medical coders, to my providers, and to medical coding students. So, if you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. I thought today that I would share some of my experiences and how I have to adapt my teaching style to different groups that I am teaching in front of. If you have not taught a class before, hopefully at some point in your career you will do this because hopefully you will be under a good manager who will insist that you develop this skill. This is not something that we're taught in medical coding school. This is certainly not a subject that they really push in schools, right? As far as like public speaking. It used to be public speaking was a requirement for like high school. Now it is a elective, I believe. So if you are not really comfortable with speaking in crowds, that's something that you really do need to work on, because again, at some point in your career, hopefully your boss is going to be like, hey, can you present a class? Can you do a presentation? It may seem intimidating at first to do presentations, but I think your approach has a lot to do with it. If you're going to be one of those ones that's just like a robot and just standing here, okay, well, here's a slide deck, and I'm going to read from the slides, and I'm not going to have y'all ask questions until the end, and we're just going to have this dull meeting, then yeah, a meeting is going to be boring and people are probably not going to learn. But the goal is to help people to learn. So what I have done in my times is teacher playing teacher at work, when it comes to teaching anything about medical coding, I look at the audience and who am I speaking to. What I do is I will get the slide deck and I will make the slide deck as far as like what the topic I'm going to cover, and the dependence on that slide deck is not so much so because I am more interactive in my approaches to teaching no matter what. But in order to prepare for these things, I always say that it's important to make everybody feel comfortable, to have something exciting be in this meeting. There's going to be a draw. There's going to be something that's going to get people engaged. So before the pandemic kicked off and did all that to us and had us learn virtually and everything, I would go to every single conference. I went to all but one because I broke my rib that one year. They were out in LA, which that was fine. I didn't want to go to LA anyway. But I had gone to every single conference. And the best part about going to conference is that you get a lot of trinkets, right? You get the promotional bags, you get the pens, you get the little notepads. You can win some amazing prizes, you can win gift cards, and somebody one year won a car. So, it's just a really awesome place, and you get to go to these exhibit halls, and that's where all the fun really begins, because you get all the cool stuff, and the best thing about conference, of course, is the networking. You get to meet other industry people, and you get to learn a lot of things, but that exhibit hall is kind of special because you get all this stuff, right? And a lot of people, some people are just like, what is the point of bringing this stuff back? Well, you can use this, right? You can use these neat gadgets, which it's obviously already included when you're paying for your conference ticket, right? I am not high up enough on the food chain currently to have my employer pay for me to go, but maybe one day I will. So I pay for this out of pocket. I've always paid for going to conference out of pocket, but that's okay with me because to me it's an investment in my knowledge, and plus I get to have this really neat experience of going to conference. So what I do is I bring back a lot of that, a lot of the swag stuff and things like that, so that I can give it away to my coworkers, and I've done that. I've brought back huge hauls of stuff, and I always take an empty suitcase because that's how much stuff you bring back. And so what I do is I share this with all my other coworkers. They don't go to conference because they don't see the point in paying to go to conference, but I do. I see the point. And so again, I share the riches with all of them. But when I'm doing a class, what I like to do is I like to make sure that everybody gets a paper copy of the slide deck. I know that's not always possible with every place, but for some reason, I never trust the projector that it's going to work right Something always happens, so I'm always prepared. And when it comes to who I'm talking to, I know with medical coders, I can make a longer slide deck and we'll understand these things. Whereas if I'm doing a class for my providers, I'm going to make it very small because I don't want them to be overwhelmed by so much paper, right? If you have a 30-minute class with the providers, you should have no more than 10 pages in your slide deck, and they need to be to the point. And that is what I have learned. You know, I learned too, because I got a little wordy on some of my slide decks, but as time has evolved, I've gotten a lot more efficient in my use of words on these slide decks. And sometimes people will, you know, put little pictures on there and do all kinds of cute little things and stuff. I tend to kind of get to the point, and that's me. That's what I do. But like I said, for my coders, I will go a little bit longer with a slide deck, and then with my providers, I'll be very short and to the point, no more than 10 pages in a slide deck, especially for a 30-minute class, because you only have so much time with them, and you have about a few minutes, just a few minute window to grab their attention. And if you don't get it during that time, you know, the time is lost. So what I've learned to do is I will bring some of the swag that I have left over from conference, and that will be the goodie bag, right? So if they will go through the whole class with me, I will ask questions at the end, and then they get to dig around in the goodie bag, and that's their prize for participating. So to me, I think it's a great deal, and everybody that I have known has always enjoyed this. Every class I've done, whether it's for coders, whether it's for providers, they've all enjoyed this, and they get quite competitive too. And it's not just the coders, the providers get competitive as well. And so it's always fun to see people engaged, and that is the whole goal when you are giving a class, is to get people engaged. If you are giving a class and you're saying, oh, here's a slide deck and I'm going to read from the slides, that's a no-go. To me, I'm going to fall asleep. I want something that I'm going to be as engaged. I want the ability to be able to ask questions as well. Sometimes people will hold questions towards the end, but I think that sometimes if you hold questions towards the end, it kind of loses that that muster when they're trying to when they're in that moment thinking about it. If they can just, you know, be free enough to ask the question, I think that works a lot better. And I think that it expands on the conversation, whatever you have up, you know, on your slide deck. So it's like I said, it goes back to it's fun. It's fun to do that and to get that feedback from the crowd. And it's not such a stuffy thing, because I think if you have the chance to break bread, and by breaking bread, I mean, like, I will always bring like bottles of water. It's like my candy basket or my bear trap. If you're brand new to my channel, my bear trap is a basket full of candy, right? I will just get candy on sale, and then I'll put it in this basket, and then I will bring it with me whenever I'm doing a class or whatever, because, you know, if they need like a little snack to be like, okay, I'm awake, you'll have a lot more engagement, and it relaxes people, because sometimes providers don't always know or remember to take care of themselves. Sometimes they will be running on empty, and then they'll start getting crabby. You ever see the commercial, you know, for Snickers? Grab a Snickers because you're not yourself. Well, I mean, it's true, because, you know, when people get hungry, they can get hangry. So if you have a little snack in front of you, oh my gosh, it's sugar. Okay, good. Or it'll be something else. I'll have pretzels in there or whatever too. So I try to break it up, and I try to do that. And I do that for the coders. I do that for the providers. And they all, like I said, they enjoy it. But, you know, having water out there, making it comfortable, we're all breaking bread, we're all, you know, together, and we can have this good conversation, and everybody is just like, okay, we're learning something new, and while I may not understand right away, I know I can relax. And that is the whole point. And oh yeah, you have this like cool little treat at the end where, you know, I can dig around in this goodie bag of, you know, swag stuff that you brought back from conference. And to me, it's always a win-win when you do something like that, because the people learn. And I did a class for coders about injury coding before this pandemic kicked off. And I did that. And that was how I was showing that I do my classes, because we don't do classes anymore. We used to. The boss that we had before, former drill sergeant. She was very insistent on everybody takes a turn at giving classes because she was training us to be comfortable speaking in front of a crowd. Every medical coder should be comfortable speaking in front of a crowd. And before you panic, oh no, Blue, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Because if I can do it, trust me, you can do it too. And it's just a matter of actually putting yourself in that position. And when you are sharing something that you know, you have something valuable to share. And so it is important to be able to use that skill and to be able to talk through that skill, because no one's ever going to know that you have this skill if you don't start to speak up. So this is a good way to practice that. If you're doing a small group, you know, with your fellow coworkers, hey, this is what I know. That's great. But again, look through TED Talks. That's what I did. And that's how I learned to be a little bit more confident as well, because you're seeing speakers that are up there, you know, giving, you know, how their tips on how they got past that nervousness or how they got past that shyness, and they're able to be more productive now. And so it's a good thing when you're able to learn those skills. It makes you more well-rounded. It gives you more opportunities, because you never know who is in this audience and who is learning from you. So again, that's something that I would hope a lot of coders don't shy away from. I know that a lot of them do, but I want to encourage you guys to get past that shyness and to do something fun like that. You know, I know now it's virtual. I did do a virtual. So I did a Jeopardy. I played Jeopardy for my Patreons this past weekend. And that was so much fun. It was very interactive because of course it's on Zoom, and it's not like doing a live where I'm reading comments. This is actually like they could see me, I can see them, and we can play this game. So in this Zoom that I was doing with my Patreons, I was playing the game of Jeopardy, right? And so I had all these questions up about coding and things like that, and it was so awesome to see the audience just as engaged, like, oh, me, I know the answer. And that is so great. And I like to see people like digging in their books and looking for the answers in the books. That's awesome to me. And I feel like people are learning when they do that, and they're so engaged. And that is just the best feeling ever when you are teaching and when you are sharing your knowledge, that you know that your audience is just as engaged. And so that's awesome. I'm going to keep doing that for my Patreons, doing that game, which I think is a lot of fun. And I never really thought of that before, but I was watching another YouTube channel, Suits to Boots, and she does that on her channel because they play games. She has a Timeout Tuesday where she goes live and she talks to her audience, and they like to play games. So they'll do different, card games or whatever. And she was doing their version of the Jeopardy game. So she has she's part of a farm. They have a sanctuary, animal sanctuary. And so that was what she did. And I was like, oh, that would be so awesome for coding, So that is one thing that I'm going to keep doing with my Patreons. Patreon, if you don't know, is a lot like YouTube. But I do a lot of medical coding stuff there. And of course, I share about myself there as well, stuff I don't share here on YouTube. But with that, I was like, okay, well, that's an awesome idea. So the next time I have to give a class, I know at work, if I ever have to give a class again, if they allow me to, hopefully soon, then I will do something like Jeopardy and make it a game. So that way people are engaged and it's something that's different. It's not your same old stuffy, okay, here's the slide deck and this is what we're going to learn. And I'm going to fall asleep if I keep watching or keep listening, to this slide presentation, because I was in a slide presentation a couple of weeks ago because we are switching over to a new electronic health record. And the training was just so very dry. And to me, there's so much more engagement when there's conversation and things like that. But it's just like, here's the slide and here's what we're doing and this and this. And I'm just like, oh boy. So I always want to have my audience be like, okay, I learned something today. I learned this or I learned that. And so anyway, but yeah, that's my story time. But I always think that when I do classes, that is like the best day. I always have an awesome time because I think of how can I make this fun for my audience. So it's just a matter of getting creative, folks. And there's a lot of flexibility in creativity. And there's a lot of things that will be easier to absorb once you make it something different. At least that's just my advice anyway. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my story, but I am looking forward to normalcy. I am looking forward to going back to conference, which this year, hopefully everything stays good with AHIMA. They're having their in-person conference this year. They're having it in person and virtual. So, you know, we'll see. And, but fingers crossed, I'm excited. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.